Hi. So I was took off last night because we had to do some things for the end of the quarter, and I appreciate everybody who gave to the campaign. I know it's a tough time for us financially in America. Just most families have someone who's struggling, if not everybody who's struggling. And I'm grateful for the way we raise money, which is grassroots. It's small amounts, and it's from good and decent people like yourselves. So thank you. We have enough to compete, and I think if we keep going this direction, we have enough to win. So tonight I have my mom on. Now I talk about my mom a lot in social media. She's still a huge part of my life. I'm not afraid of that. I'm not embarrassed about that. She's a great person, and I thought it'd be fun to introduce her to everybody. So I'm here in my office, and she's in her living room. Can we bring her in? Ma, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
How are you doing with the quarantine?
I'm okay. It's I've been busy. I've been sewing a lot and doing crafty things and just keeping busy, trying new recipes. Nobody to
But
eat them.
you usually cook for everybody else. Are you eating all this stuff?
No, I make secret deliveries to Thad's house.
Oh, to my brother's house. Okay,
Yes,
and I'm sure
I
they appreciate that.
I think they do. I don't
But
know
you're
if
not going
they
out, right?
pardon.
You're not going out. You're not going to activities. You're not going to church,
Go
right?
anywhere. Go anywhere. I stay home. It's actually kind of pleasant because I've been able to get things done that I haven't been able to do because I've run around so much. But I clean the cupboards, and I guess that'll probably get really tiring after a while.
So, Mom, listen. I want to talk about our story a little bit. I mean, I don't want to dig too deep in the dirt here, but I want to talk about what you taught me. I think you taught me a lot about seeing hope in almost every situation, and I'm grateful to you for that. So I'd like to share maybe your story a little bit. Is that okay?
Fine.
So my mom, well, first you tell me in your words, Mom. So you grew up where?
I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
You grew up where? Where'd you grow up?
North Tonawanda, not too far from where I am living now, which is
And
really bizarre.
where'd you meet my
I live
dad?
in North Tonawanda. Um,
And
I
Mom,
live
so I'm going
same
to
house.
cut you off because I know we'll talk all day, and I want to get to the key points here if I could. So where did you meet? You met my dad. How old were you when you got married?
I was 19. I met him at a baseball game. Well, he was actually on my brother's baseball team, and my brother wanted me to meet him. And we went on our first date, and the rest is history, as
And was
they
he?
say.
How old was he?
He was 22.
And he was a heck of a ball player, right?
He was fantastic. He almost played majors, but at that time they didn't offer big bonuses and money, and so it was more profitable for him to work construction than play baseball. And I wish he would have played baseball because I think he would
Well,
have
no,
been
but
happier.
think about that though. I mean, the fact that he could make a living in the trades like that is a great thing.
Yes, yes, and at that time he was supporting his mother, and so he really had to work. It wasn't like he was just on his own. He had his mom to take care of.
But he was drafted and everything. I've seen the papers,
Yes, he was going to play for the Padres.
and he was a pitcher.
He was a pitcher. He was very fierce, and I don't think they ever measured how fast he threw the ball, but I know it was fast. You couldn't even see it.
And so, but he was a bit of he had a temper, right? That's what I hear.
Yeah, had a temper.
Like on the baseball field, I'm talking about.
Yes,
He would tell
ball,
me.
any sports, he was temperamental. Played serious.
Yeah. So he got married. He went into the construction trades. He was a union guy. He started a small business, didn't he? He sold for a while. He sold what did he sell?
So snowmobiles for a while on the side. At the same time, working construction. He was a worker. He always worked two or three jobs, and then he formed his own business, drywall business, and he did that for quite a long time.
So he would come home covered in drywall and just fall into the bathtub every night, right?
That's right.
But my dad was, I hate to say this because it's my dad, but he was beloved. 'Cause I think maybe because he was an athlete, but wherever I would go in my small town, people remembered him. And they remembered him for being a talker like his son, right? He's a big talker.
He could speak to anyone. He used to tell me, "Oh, I can't talk to people," but he never stopped talking to people. He was always talking to people, and everybody loved him.
So you had, well, I don't want to get too much into this, but you had 7 kids and you had one child actually pass away. So really, I don't want to get too deep into it because it hurts you. But that was before me, right? Mom, did I lose you? Torn, you there? Ma, can you hear me?
I am here.
Ma, can you hear me? Did you hit mute or something? Uh-oh. Let's see what's going on here. We lost her. What happened?
Well, let me try to ring her back.
Maybe she Ma? Ma, go back to the way it was before. Readjust, Ma. Here, turn her off. I'll call her. Ma?
Ma, can you hear me? Torrin, I knew this was gonna happen. I don't want to give her a hard time. Hey, can we start up in a second, Torrin? Torrin, let's pause this for a second so I can see what happened to her.
Are we back?
I
We're
think
back.
we are. Okay.
Listen, to those watching, I'm guessing this camera is going to fall at least 4 or 5 more times. Mom, is it charged?
Have faith. I think it's going to be okay.
Is it charged?
Yes, it's charging as we sit here. It's plugged into the charger.
So in the last take, Mom says that the charger was at 65%, but I'm not going to say. Sorry, I don't want to make fun. All right, Mom, we're back. Thank you for doing this. I shouldn't be hard on you. All right, where were we in our conversation?
I saw Dad, and that was, I guess.
So chapter 1 was about my dad, and now chapter 2 is you met my dad. You got married. You had seven kids, but really
Yes.
you had another child before me. And I don't want to talk about it because I know it hurts you, but I do think it kind of formed a special relationship between me and you because you had my older, what would have been my older brother, Carmen, passed away, and I think you didn't think you were gonna have any more kids after that, right?
No, I knew I was going to have more kids, but I didn't know that it was going to be you. And when you were born, you were special. All my kids are kind of dark hair, and you came with bright blonde hair and sparkling blue eyes, and I thought it was a promise.
All right, take it easy.
It was
Take it easy.
when you came. It was wonderful.
Okay, listen.
Wonderful kids.
Now you made all my brothers and sisters might feel very bad. So let's say something about how wonderful they all are.
Each kid in the family has their own special place in it.
Okay.
And
so you had this huge group of kids, right? All these kids, and you had all these boys, mostly boys. You had my older sister too, and then you were left alone because my father died. Correct?
right.
So that was
36.
30.
7 children. And,
He didn't die when he was 39, Mom.
he was 39. I was 36.
Yeah, and it was a shock to you because he died quickly, right?
Well, he'd been sick for 2 years, but I always thought he was going to get better. I always thought he would pull through, and I never realized until the day he died that he was going to die.
So how did he die? How did you find out he died? I was like, what, 3 or 4 years old, right?
I was with him, and an intern. I was going to take him home because they weren't doing anything for him at the hospital anymore. He was just there, and so I made arrangements for him to come home in an ambulance. And an intern came up to me and said, "Don't you realize he could die at any minute?" And I said, "No, you're the first person that said that." And I went in, and within 45 minutes, he was dead.
Did he talk to you before he died?
A little bit.
And he didn't want to die. That's, of course, but he was very expressive about not wanting to die.
I remember that during that little course of time, he said too much, and I think he realized that it was the end.
He said too much? Oh, he was feeling so much pain at the very end.
Yeah.
Mm. So, he had cancer, right?
Yes.
And it was a tough time even before he died, right? Because it was financially difficult for the family. And I remember I was terrified as a child because he was always sick.
Yes, but he worked right till 6 weeks before he died. So we didn't realize the struggle until after he died.
So this man who's an athlete, he was drafted to play pro baseball, and suddenly he's in his 30s and he has a colonoscopy. Were you scared? I remember when he had the surgery even as a little boy, I can still remember when he got a colonoscopy and how scary that was. Wasn't that kind of like a red flag?
It was not a colonoscopy. He had a uroscopy.
I'm sorry. Well, yeah, my bad. I'm sorry, Mom. Yeah. So, but he had a colostomy bag, rather. I'm sorry.
Yeah, a urostomy.
Yes.
Yes.
Wasn't that a shock for you?
It was. You just do what you have to do. It was kind of new to the nurses in the hospital. They did not know how to take care of it, so they would call me and say, "Miss McMurray, you got to come and change the bag," because they didn't know, they couldn't get it to stick. So I don't remember how many
But
times.
was he devastated as a young man having all
Yeah,
of this?
he
Mm.
was. He was mortified. He didn't want to die, and he thought he had so much more life to give, and it was shocking to him. And he continued, he still played basketball, and he still, worked and did everything that he could. But that was always at the back of his mind that, it was borrowed time.
Mm. So so when you got through all this, and what was your reaction after he did die? It was a shock to you, obviously.
Yeah, for a while I was kind of uh, denying it. I thought, well, we'll be okay. We'll be okay. This will work out. And he died in October, and I realized I had to do something because I needed to have some income. So in January, I went back to school,
But
and
you literally had a little baby, my
it
Joshua, my brother.
was not quite 2 when he died.
So you had a 1-year-old, and you had me, and you had all these other older kids. But you
My
think it was?
oldest
Mm-hmm.
team, and they were all like 2 years apart all the way down.
And the older kids, this was even more traumatic for them because they were like, "Holy cow, our 30-something-year-old father just died."
Yeah.
Okay, so you shook it off, and you're like, "I need to go to work." So what was your first job? And I know you're pretty much just a stay-at-home mom before that, but what was your first job?
My first job after your dad died was working at Wegmans, and I worked in the fabric department. I bet you most people don't
Wait,
realize
didn't you
that.
work at Twin Fair first? I think you
No,
told me
that was
that before.
I worked at Twin Fair before I got married. That was a
Oh,
long
okay,
time.
gotcha. Okay, so you
First
started at Wegmans in the fabric department.
fabric
Go ahead.
department, and then I went up to cashier, and then I became a deli worker. And I loved the deli. The deli was fun. It was like preparing for a party all the time because I was in charge of the party trays. So I really loved it. It was fun. That was a fun job.
That is such your attitude. I remember you loved that working at Wegmans. But working at Wegmans wasn't enough to pay for 7 kids. How did we survive?
Well, I also um, worked at the church as a custodian, and that
Yep.
was part time. That wasn't a full time job.
But then you worked I remember almost my entire life you did custodial jobs as extra
Yeah,
work. We worked at doctors' offices.
yes, I
Weren't
worked
you
at a
ever like overwhelmed because you always had 2 or 3 jobs?
I don't know. I think you just do what you have to do. I was grateful that I had good kids and that I had older kids to kind of look out for the littler ones, and um, we got through it. You have to get through it. You can't worry about every little thing and oh, woe is me, because why not you? Why shouldn't you go through some hard times? There's
So I
a quote
remember
from
you had this jacket when we were kids. You must have worn that jacket for 10 years. Do you remember the
the brown
jacket I'm talking about?
fuzzy one.
Yes.
I love that jacket. I still wish I had that jacket. I
So
really
I remember when I first got a job, I saved all my money so I could buy you a jacket. I don't know if you remember that. Because I always
no,
felt bad you wore that jacket for such a long time. You wore that jacket my entire childhood.
the whole lining wore out after a while, but I still liked it.
All right. So,
I
but Mom,
still
what I
love
remember about you is your attitude was so positive, and I kind of wanted to have you on here to talk about that. Like you said, you worked at the deli, and you always felt like you're prepared for a party. Like I never remembered you being depressed, and maybe what was the secret? I mean, that's number one.
I
You
don't
always
know.
were happy, and you always brought joy into the house.
I think I was blessed. You get sad, and there were times I was sad. I don't know if you know this, but I would get very sad because I missed Dad, and I would get in my car and drive and cry, so that nobody would see me crying. And then I would come home, and then I would be okay. And
I'm glad you did that because you hid a lot of that from us. We just
yeah,
thought you were mom. There was not, but we didn't really dwell on our father's death that much. I think about it more now as an adult than I did as a kid.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I mean, it was an obvious loss. I mean, there was a big space in our family now that we didn't have. It wasn't any.
So
There was no way we could fill that.
faith was big for you, and we don't got to get into specifics. I know it's a big part of your life still, but was that something you relied on heavily to get through all this?
Of course, you know, physically and emotionally and spiritually. You know, physically, the church helped me a lot when I had hard times. They would, you know, I would get food, and sometimes I'd have to have a power bill paid or whatever. And then emotionally, I had a lot of friends at church. They were supportive of me, and then spiritually, I could always turn to the Lord for whatever my lowest time.
The daily prayer help.
Yes, it does.
Okay. So we had a lot of other things that happened, like any other family. We went through, there was moments of hell. But I gotta say to you, Mom, you always brought joy into the house, and you always, even if we didn't have a lot, you made sure that important days were celebrated, like birthdays and Christmases, even if it was done completely homemade. And I never felt poor, Mom. Go ahead.
I'm a party person. I like parties.
Wait a second, Mom. You're not. But some people will see that. Go ahead.
Pardon? I like
Party.
I
gotta talk about my mom's parties. My mom's parties is good, clean fun. When she says party person, she means charades and juice,
games, kids,
homemade root beer.
right? Homemade
Go ahead,
birthday cake all the time. It was always fun.
But when I listen, and it's okay. Everyone has different ways to celebrate, but we never had alcohol in the house ever. We never. You were very. We lived a pretty clean cut. I mean, there was problems with every family has problems with certain members of the family has some substance abuse problems here or there. But my brothers were pretty straight arrows, wouldn't you say?
I would say that, yes. The whole family was.
So how did you do that?
I don't know. I think I had a lot of spiritual help. I think now when I see a big family, I think, oh my gosh, how do they manage? And then I count them, and they have like 6 kids, and I said, wait a minute, you had 7, and you did it, and it's doable. You know, you just have to have a good attitude.
You started school, and education was important to you, right?
Yes, it was very important.
Did you ever think about going to school before Dad died?
Yeah, we both did. I was going to go in for
That's right. He's in his
psychology.
30s, right?
He was going to go into blueprint reading. He wanted to be a blueprint reader and be able to, you know, he was a good artist and he wanted to design houses. Never got to that. I always feel bad that
but you always talked about your dreams of you guys to continue your education, and you got to do that. You became a teacher. You always wanted to be a teacher when I was a kid. I've never heard the psychology thing before.
Yeah, well, you know, I think I've always been a teacher. When you're a mother, you're a teacher. And I think I've always been that. So it was a natural thing. I used to go to work, and when I was teaching, I think, I get paid for doing this. This is crazy. I would do this free. I loved it so much.
I got to say to everybody out there, my mom didn't become a teacher until you were in your 50s, right?
56.
She was 56 when she became a teacher. She had a full career afterwards. And to get her career, she moved to Houston, Texas to teach.
Yeah.
And I think what I would describe as an inner city school, right?
There were no openings for teachers in New York at that time. So Houston was booming and they needed teachers. And I went there, and that's where I got a job in inner city Houston.
And you loved it.
I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I still hear from some of those kids that I taught.
I was in Asia during most of that time, but I was so proud of you that you finally fulfilled your dream and you became a teacher, and that even moving out of state didn't stop you.
No, it was, you know, I had to. That's the only way I could work, and I did it, and I'm glad I did. It was a great experience. I taught in a school that was predominantly Hispanic and Black. I used to joke that I was a token white in the school because there were no other white people, no white teachers. It was just me.
Did you ever feel like a little bit of an outsider there because of that, or did you feel accepted and embraced?
I felt so comfortable there, and I have a talent for doing bulletin boards. I don't know why. And so all the teachers would come and ask me to do their bulletin boards for Cinco de Mayo or for whatever holiday came along.
Now, I want to say to you, Mom, like you grew up in a very white neighborhood, and then you spent your you spent your 50s and your 60s in a predominantly African American Hispanic school district. Do you see a lot of similarities between the way poor white kids struggle and the way the poor kids in that community struggle?
Yes, I see similarities in anybody's struggles. Women struggle the same, whether you're black, white, or purple. They have the same things that they have to worry about.
But it's hard.
And
It may be there's obviously a layer of more difficulty if you're poor and you're black, or you're poor and you're or anything that layers on the difficulty is different. But you can find common ground with people that struggle, I think is what you're trying to say, right?
yes.
So you came back to. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said there are a lot of commonalities between people suffering.
So you came back home. You came back home, and you're full grandma mode, right?
Yes. Well,
And
I can't see my grandchildren right now, so it's really difficult.
yeah, because you're stuck in quarantine.
Yes.
So listen, I'm a mama's boy. I used to always go to my mom's house still, and I would go and I just hang out and check on her, and she'd make me a sub. I can't go there now, Ma.
I know.
And my boys miss you like crazy.
Well, I talked with Mean today and asked about the boys. The boys are doing well.
So let me ask you about education. Education was a big part of our life, right?
Yes.
So why was that important to you? Because you didn't grow like my grandfather was a very intelligent man. My uncle was very intelligent, very educated. But where did your passion from education come from?
I think everybody can be educated somehow. Everybody needs to learn something. It's a joy to learn something new every day. What a boring life it would be if we didn't every day learn something. I'm teaching myself how to do embroidery with ribbon. I've never done that before. There's always something new to learn. And every time you learn something, it builds you. You get stronger. It makes you strong to know things.
Well, I love you, Mom. You're the best. You've taught me to find joy in the small things in life, and I'm always grateful for you. And I always have a positive, optimistic view. I think you gave that to me. You see the silver lining in everything. And I appreciate listen, I tell my kids all the time, Grandma told me read. And listen, even when I hated school, I read. And I'm grateful to you for that because it really made me a better person. It made me a better candidate.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Nothing. I'm getting a text from somebody. Anyway, yeah, you were always reading. You loved reading and you loved writing. You used to write the best stories. I don't even know where they came from, but they were such good stories. You had such a good imagination, such good a command of the language, which was a really good thing for me. I appreciated that. And
well,
I
I
know you read now.
Go ahead.
I know that you read to your children, and I love that you read to them. It's such a
I
bonding.
love reading to them. I when I do it, I think about what you sounded like when I was a kid. Because to everybody listening, my mom would work all these jobs. She'd come home in the middle of the night, and frankly, Mom, we'd be up because sometimes when Mom's gone, we'd play. No matter how tired you were, you would try to read with us at least a couple times a week. And I could see you wanting to fall asleep when you were reading to us some story. But really, it made me I don't know. I feel like I'm a terrible dad. I don't have that type of energy or drive. I don't know where you got it from, but I'm grateful to you, Mom. If I could be 10% of the dad that you were as a mom, I'd be a much better person.
Well, I'm sure you're wonderful with your kids because you take them places and you do a lot of the same things I did. we didn't have any money. We couldn't go any place that cost anything. So we went to every park. We went everywhere together to, I can't believe people in this area, some people have not even seen Niagara Falls. How can you live here and not go there? This is a
What
beautiful part of the
What's
world.
your favorite park in Western New York?
In Western New York? I don't know. I don't know. I really like to go by the river. Any place by the river.
Niagara River. What's the favorite vacation we took as a kid? Because sometimes there were some funny vacations we took. What's your favorite one?
Well, I liked all the times we went camping because I love camping, and there's so much in that with camping. And
Last question. Last question before we go further. Sorry. What is your favorite band? I'm never asked you this question. If you listen to music, what do you want to listen to?
Beatles.
Oh, the Beatles. What's your favorite movie? Think. Don't just answer anything.
I can't remember the name of it, with Chevy Chase.
Oh Lord. Okay. All right. Tori, are there any questions from the people watching?
I'm sorry. What did you? I didn't hear what you said.
Not many questions, but a whole lot of well wishes for happy birthday.
Oh, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
I wanted to say to you, happy birthday, Nathan. I don't know if you know this. When I go to pick out a birthday card, it takes me hours to find the right one. And I found the perfect card for you. And I don't know how I'm going to get it to you, but I got you a whole bunch of little things to keep you going, like Cliff Bars and peanuts and Reese's cups, so that
Are we gonna win this election, Mom, or what?
you're going to win it. You're a winner. You are going to win.
I wish everybody in the world had a mom like Judith McMurray. All right, well, listen, guys. What, Mom?
I said, people, just get out and vote for you. You're the best. There's nobody that can take care of the people better than you.
All right, Mom. Listen, I love you. And anything else you want to say before we end this? I appreciate you coming on my birthday, and I love you so much.
I love you too.
All right. Listen, take care, and thank you for watching. I hope this didn't bore you guys too much. And we'll do another one soon, okay? Bye-bye.
Okay. Stay safe.
All right.